Let us take up a few more examples of genetically modified crops. Tomatoes have short shelf life. Shelf life refers to the length of time during which a food item can be stored without spoiling it. So tomatoes get ripe very fast even if you store it under refrigeration. After a few days they will become ripe, and prolonged preservation will definitely spoil them. So they have got short shelf life. Genetic modification is used to circumvent this problem. So this problem can be solved with the help of genetics, and we can produce those varieties of tomatoes which can remain green for longer period of time. So tomatoes remain green for longer time. So by genetically modifying the tomatoes, we have been capable of achieving varieties which can remain green for longer time, and that will increase the shelf life of the tomatoes. Specific gene is used to increase cellulose content for pulp industry for making paper. Now plants have got cellulose in them. Cellulose is an organic compound or a polysaccharide or a very complex carbohydrate which is made out of number of glucose molecules, large number of glucose molecules. And this cellulose is present in the cell walls of the plants. And the function of the cellulose is to impart rigidity, strength to the plant. The main function of the cellulose is in the paper industry and even clothing. So in order to increase the cellulose content for making paper in the pulp industries, genetically modified plants are grown so that they secrete more cellulose, which will eventually benefit the paper industry. Self-coloring cotton yarn derived from genetically engineered cotton seed does not require artificial dye. Now we all have seen cotton balls, but we all must have definitely seen them to be white in color. But nowadays, by genetically modifying the seeds of cotton, we are capable of producing the cotton balls of different colors. Otherwise, the white cotton needed to be dyed or various colors were added to it so as to make a colorful yarn. But now we get the cotton balls of different colors, and so the artificial dye is not required. So these are three more additional examples of genetically modified crops. So these are some of the examples of genetically modified crops. We have corn, broccoli, we have cauliflower, papayas. Seedless papayas are also available, even watermelons. And we can easily distinguish between the two papayas, those which are genetically modified and those which are the original varieties. Then the brinjal, we can see here, various shapes of brinjal are obtained nowadays. So they are genetically modified ones. This is the cotton ball, and we can now even get the cotton ball with colored finish, and because of the genetic modification, and the artificial dye is not required. Otherwise we had to add dyes to the white cotton so as to make it colorful. And this is golden rice, which is cultivated so as to obtain more beta carotene, the precursor or the starting material for the formation of vitamin A. So these are some examples of genetically modified crops. This picture is of a pink bollworm, the insect that is known for destroying the cotton balls. So it's a pest in cotton farming, and the female moth lays eggs in the cotton ball, and when the larvae emerge from the eggs, they start damaging while eating the cotton ball. They chew through the cotton lint, that is the fibers, to feed on the seeds. Since cotton is used both as a fiber as well as seed oil, the damage is twofold. But now with the BT varieties, that is transgenic cotton that is available, BT cotton, this damage has been restricted. A few more examples of biotechnological techniques that are being used in agriculture. Herbicide tolerant plant. Herbicides affect both weeds and main crops. Herbicide resistant crops are being developed, and hence it is possible to selectively destroy the weeds. And herbicides like bromoxynil and glyphosate are used. Now, along with the main crops, there are some unwanted plants, that is weeds, also grow. Now, these unwanted plant and weeds take up all the fertilizers that are added to the field. So, to destroy these unwanted plants or weeds, we add chemicals or pesticides called as herbicides. Now, these herbicides, along with the unwanted plant, even destroy the crop plants. So nowadays, using biotechnology, we are developing crops that are resistant to herbicides. So bromoxynil and glyphosate are two examples of herbicides which are used, but there is no effect of these herbicides on the crops because they have been genetically modified, and so they have become resistant to the herbicides. So now these herbicides are used to destroy only the unwanted plants, that is weeds. Next is biofertilizers. Bacteria like Rhizobium, Azotobacter, Nostoc and Anabaena, and plants like Azolla are used as biofertilizers. Nitrogen fixation and phosphate solubilization abilities of plants are improved. Now we know that nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium are basic requirements of any plant. And plants cannot take up the nitrogen directly from the air. So that has to be converted into nitrogen compounds, only then they can be taken up. So these bacteria like Rhizobium, Azotobacter, Nostoc, Anabaena are useful in this context. So along with that, we even have plants like Azolla that are used as biofertilizers. So these bacteria bring about nitrogen fixation. They convert atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogen compound and dissolve in the soil, and these dissolved nitrogen compounds can be then taken up by the plants. Similarly, phosphate solubilization of the plant are also improved with the help of these bacteria. So this is a picture of Azolla. It is also called as aquatic fern or mosquito fern, and it is similar in looks to moss. So they are similar to mosses, and it is used as a biofertilizer, particularly for paddy, that is rice, and it has this property of nitrogen fixation. And Azolla is also finding increasing use in the production of livestock feed. These pictures are showing you the roots of leguminous plants. Leguminous plants are, for example, peas, beans, etc. And this is Rhizobium that we have talked about, a bacteria that helps in nitrogen fixation and hence is used as a biofertilizer. So these bacteria can infect the roots of leguminous plants, leading to the formation of lumps or nodules. So here you can see these nodules or lumps where the nitrogen fixation takes place. About 90% of legume species can become nodulated. Now we know that the fertilizer for plants comprises of nitrogen, phosphorus, etc. And the nitrogen is present in the air, but the plants cannot take it up directly. So these microbes are very useful for nitrogen fixation. So the bacteria that are there in the soil fix the nitrogen. So Rhizobium is one bacteria along with Azotobacter, Nostoc that are present in the soil. what they do is they combine with nitrogen in the air and convert it into nitrogen compound, the most common being ammonia. So nitrogen enters the food chain as a result of these microbes, which take it up from the air and convert it into ammonia, which is then taken up by the plants. Now, these nitrogen fixing bacteria live in the roots of leguminous plants. So what is done is that to increase the fertility of the soil, the farmers, what they do is after the main crop, they grow such leguminous plants in their field so that the fertility of the soil will be increased. So these nitrogen fixing bacteria are found in the roots of leguminous plants like peas and beans. And these bacteria are found in these nodules, or what we call them as the lumps. And there is a symbiotic relationship between the bacteria and the plant. Symbiotic is the give and take relationship. So the bacteria is going to get food and shelter in the plants, whereas the plant is going to get the nitrogen requirement. So these bacteria are incorporated into the root nodules and in these special protective houses. So these are protective houses for the bacteria. And these bacteria work anaerobically. They are anaerobic bacteria and they fix nitrogen into ammonia in presence of a special enzyme. So this is how the various bacteria act as biofertilizers and they enrich the soil with various nutrients which are required by the plants.